Hello, everybody. And hey, for the last time and for many months to come, this is it. This will be the final post game show of this season. And it couldn't come to a faster conclusion as far as I'm concerned. Final score, the Steelers win. Steelers win. Final score, Steelers lose. Steelers lose. Go home and pick your noses, you ignorant people. They were leaving the stadium early, fucking Steeler fans. I'll forget my way home. Yin's gonna help me find my way home. People are ignorant. I swear to God, they're the most ignorant people that you could possibly run into, and they're nose pickers. Yes, they are. It's like they didn't care about anything except the playoffs, and they didn't get it. I just find fans' reactions to things just funnier and funnier the more I watch. This is like the fans, it's like they lost. I don't know. We're gonna bring Bronk on board here. Hi, Bronk. How you doing?
Oh, I don't know how much I swore at my television set today, but it was quite a bit. Oh dear. There you go. There I am on the big screen.
Yeah, no, I mean, it really is so funny to me that, the fans are going wild, they're going crazy. It's like then all of a sudden, man, the 50-yard field goal for the
Wah, wah,
Dolphins.
wah, wah, wah. Wah,
And
wah.
somebody just pulled a pin and the air all came out of those Yinzers. And you know what's so great about it? This
But
season was over for us a long time ago.
it was.
But I want the pain to be felt by Pittsburgh fans.
Oh
They
God, yeah.
waited through the whole year. They came out to the stadium and they were so excited, and it didn't happen for you. What happened to
Yeah.
the old Steelers luck? Look, the officials gave you enough calls today.
Oh
What happened
my
to the
God.
Steelers luck?
You
It's
should have. I'm surprised.
gone. Oh, wait, go ahead.
I'm surprised you didn't hear me yelling when they nearly ripped off Deshaun Watson's head and they didn't call a penalty. And then they throw a makeup call 3 minutes later on fucking Pickett. And then they're complaining about that roughing the passer
Hey,
call.
Steel Cam 51. Here you go.
Here you
Now, do you
go.
feel more like you're at
Meh.
home? You feel like you're at home? I could be your dad or your brother. Yeah, pain. Your fans are fucking fair weather soldiers. Why don't you face it? You could see what was happening. It's like a hush descended upon the
Yeah.
stadium. And first of all, because they still don't know how to spell or pronounce Acrisure. That would be the first part of the problem, okay?
Hey, neither do I.
And I don't even know what the fuck it is. It's
What
probably
is it?
probably they make a little medical device that makes it easier to pick your nose.
Pick your nose, yeah.
You know something, Steel Cam 51? It didn't matter. It was all for naught. The whole thing was for naught. And you know what your fans did? They walked for the exits. They didn't celebrate with the team at the end of the game to say, hey, what a good job you guys did. They walked out on them. And that I just find that just so typical of fans today. And you know that I'm kidding about picking your nose. You know that I'm kidding about that. The bottom line is, though, look, I make fun of Cleveland fans all the time, too, because they're the most fair weather, hateful, bigoted types of people in the world. And in Pittsburgh and Cleveland are basically in the same longitude and latitude. So when Cordell Stewart was your quarterback, you didn't like him because he was black. And you can come just right out and say it. That was the bottom line. It was, well, he was gay and black, maybe. I don't know what the story was with Cordell Stewart, but I do know this, that the people here in Cleveland don't want Deshaun Watson to succeed. Half of the fan base does not want him to succeed. And I'll tell you, I get the impression that Kevin Stefanski wanted to get him killed today.
Yeah.
I really
Why
do.
was he in there for the last 4 minutes of pure garbage time? Or why didn't they just run the ball to a running, chop? They could have just kept the ball and,
I
not
don't know.
suffered Wills getting injured and not suffered Watson getting killed. And yeah.
Now, no. New Orleans fans wore bags on their heads. Your
Yeah.
girlfriend wears a bag on her head because you put it there. Okay, so
But
let's be honest. And actually, you need a bag over yours because she's a two-bagger, babe. And
in
that means
case
that
you're
if she
one
happens to get
break.
hers
Yeah.
off, you don't have to look at her. Okay,
Yeah.
as long as we're good with that.
Yeah.
But no, I couldn't believe that they just threw the ball every time. I mean, it was just
Yeah.
over and over and over, letting him take punishment. And the receivers had stopped running their patterns. I don't know what was going on out there. The whole team, I told you they were not emotionally ready to play this football game. And the Steelers had every reason to be emotionally charged. They were at home. They were playing for something, and the Browns were playing for nothing. And the Browns had another altercation with a player who said he didn't want to come back. And John Johnson once again proved that he doesn't care and he doesn't try and he gives up plays. And that there was another busted coverage in the secondary. And all of the things that are the I don't care Browns showed up in this game as I knew it would. By the way, I picked the final score to be 28-17, just so that you know. I knew what was going to happen in this game. The thing that's unfortunate is the reason that these things happen. We have a head coach who is just bound and determined to have these erratic play calling. It's like they didn't even want to try to run the football game to start the game out. I don't understand. I mean, there was no fatigue for the Pittsburgh Steelers defense because, honest to God, we didn't pound them early in the game. There was no fatigue factor. So they were able to just run at the quarterback at will, for the back half of the game. It's bad play calling. I don't know what the situational was, what they thought the situational was. But the Browns are not built right now to be a passing team because they don't have enough in the secondary and their offensive line is poor. Hudson obviously can't block Watt. We knew he couldn't, but he said he wanted a second go of it.
We have to see it time after time after time. I mean, Watson, if he has to have 4 seconds to throw the ball, then the receivers are shit. We know. I mean, how many more times can we say our receivers don't get open, our line doesn't block good enough, and we're going to get whatever quarterback we have back there, whether it's Mayfield, Brissett, Watson, Jake Delhomme, they're all going to get killed,
Yeah, and the Browns were not engaged, and under the set of circumstances that always surrounds this organization, they're not going to be engaged. And it's the problem with the Browns is that their own ownership is their own worst enemy. The problem with the Steelers is that they have to figure out a way to mature their quarterback so he can throw over the middle as accurately as he does toward the sidelines.
This is how engaged the Browns are. Look at this cat who's been down here the whole game, just sleeping away.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'd say that I would be sleeping too.
Down here the entire game, not looking at the screen, going, "Oh my God, when's it over?"
The Texans are just like porn stars. All they do is blow. So yeah, of course the Texans just blew. But the one thing that killed me, 50-yard field goal, and you know what was weird about the whole thing?
What was weird?
The two announcers were like,
"Oh God,"
as crushed as the fan base of Pittsburgh.
Oh God!
Oh, what a shame for the Steelers. Well, maybe if the Steelers hadn't started out 2-6, maybe, just maybe, if they hadn't left Mitch Trubisky on the field, maybe, just maybe. I mean, oh, what a shame. Oh, gosh.
So let's say they actually had gotten the 7th seed. Do you really think that they were going to go into Buffalo and beat the Bills?
Yeah, I mean, look,
God, I mean, come on.
I understand from a fan's perspective, it's nice if your team goes to the playoffs. I get that. The Pittsburgh Steelers should be able, the fans, instead of walking out of the stadium and picking their noses, what they should be doing is saying, hey, the rookie quarterback showed growth. He showed some maturity. Pickens is turning out to be a good receiver. And, I hope Freiermuth isn't badly hurt. I hate to see guys let off the field with knee injuries because, we don't want any injured players, but there is a brighter future for Pittsburgh now than there is for Cleveland. So I'm here to be honest, not to, take shit from people. And I unfollowed everybody who are Watson haters. I just unfollowed them on Twitter because at this point, there's no reason. I mean, nobody in that situation with, offensive line that was dealing with Hudson's again getting lined up against Watt. And then when Jedrick Wills went out, I mean, it was just target practice, and you don't want to see that. The whole game plan was screwed up again, and Stefanski is going to be here again next year. Maybe this is what we just wanted to make it just a a pass happy game, just because this is a sneak peek at what we're going to be when we actually have wide receivers. But the real thing is, how are we going to get them anyway? I mean, I don't know. And I think, as much as this goes, I think Watson is a good quarterback. I think that he has some skills, but, he's getting no protection back there, and he's getting no help from the wide receivers. And I can honestly say the second interception he threw was all on Watson. He just didn't see the guy who stepped right in front of the receiver. And the first pick, I don't know what was going on because there were three men standing in the general area, and that he would throw the ball to little David Bell in the middle of all that. I don't know what the story was, but Amari Cooper was standing there like he wasn't sure where he was supposed to be.
Yeah, I think somebody ran the wrong route, and he was.
It drew more men to an area of the field. And DPJ, I think DPJ and Amari were kind of looking at each other like, "What are you doing here?" So I've seen so much of the Browns being unable to function as far as to understand what the playbook is. We definitely need an offensive coordinator, and I know that's not going to happen for as long as Stefanski's here, which will be half of the season until the bye next year. Then he'll be gone. Joe Woods will definitely be gone because, with all these ridiculous breakdowns in the secondary.
My thought was whoever lives close to the Goodwill near where Joe Woods is staying probably is going to get some good deals on Browns gear, because that stuff is definitely not going to be bad.
Yeah.
I figured I was in the bar and I was watching this game, and one of the guys said he had a friend text him and said, "Do you realize I've wasted 65 hours of my life this year watching this?"
That is grim.
Yeah, it is grim, but
not to mention how many hours I get on and talk about it afterwards. I'm thinking it's way over 65 for me. God.
I'm happy the season's over. I'm happy that I'm kind of emotionally drained over so many things. I mean, from the fans who constantly write hateful things, to the coaching staff who come. I mean, why would you come out against the Steelers without showing them physical strength? If you can wear out the Pittsburgh front, then you have a chance of winning the game. But if you just let them get away and run free, I mean, you saw what would happen. I mean, so I'm drained of the bad play calling, the bad performance of the players, the bad attitude and laziness and arm tackling of many of the players on the team.
Delpit.
Delpit is gone. Thank you.
Delpit.
I mean, and the other thing is, I get really tired of the lack of a pass rush, the inability of the Browns or refusal of the Browns to blitz and keep laying back in zone defenses. I'm getting tired of the defensive backs. I mean, I can't imagine that Greedy Williams will ever play football again, and I hope not. I don't want him paralyzed or anything like that, but I am tired of players who are making full salaries who always, every single season, miss like 40% of the season. I'm tired of it. There has to be something wrong. Something is going on with the way that we're not preparing people, or that people are just refusing to play hurt. They're like clowning. They just don't want to be out there. I really become suspicious of what's happening here. So
I think you said that right there. There's a difference between playing hurt and being injured. And that's the difference of being in the NFL. You play hurt because you're never 100%. But if you're injured, you can't play. You brought something great also, Moo. We're talking about the wide receivers. There's a play where Peoples-Jones had that ball. They were tight against their own end zone, and Peoples-Jones gets that ball completely free in space. Did you see how slow he ran? He was run down by linebackers, and there's three guys at him. He looked like he was running in quicksand, and that was the whole. This guy should not be a number 2 receiver on anyone's team.
I'll tell you the play. I know the play that you're referring to. It was right by the goal line, and the thing was, for some reason, and I'll never understand this either. Donovan Peoples-Jones ran a pattern, and he broke the wrong way. He should have been turned with his momentum going toward the end zone. Instead, he turned the thing outside instead of inside. If you look at the play over again, Watson actually leads him toward the goal line with the pass, but he has to turn halfway around to catch it. He was running the wrong direction.
This one was like early in the game. And he actually caught the ball free in space. They were going away from the end zone. It's when they stopped the Steelers down deep.
Okay.
And after the fumble, and it was just. But to me, I just looked at it, and the thing that just got me was he could not outrun anyone on the field. There were offensive linemen that could run down the field faster. It was like it was Kosar-esque speed. It was bad.
Yeah. Except he didn't bet. You want to talk about Bernie. Bernie is so brain damaged. Hey, you can use me for an advertisement that I bet $17,500 on a football game. You're fired, Bernie. It's like, but why? I'm an icon. It's like, only in Cleveland, right?
Make it stop.
M. Perry, the troops didn't seem motivated today. Who needs to go and who should stay? Well, right off the bat, Joe Woods has to be terminated, and I think everybody realizes that because he doesn't have the ear of the defensive players on the field. I believe Van Pelt should go because he's not even serving a functional purpose for this team. And we need somebody who has some greater vision of what we have to do with a passing quarterback like Watson, and we can't leave that in the hands of Case Keenum maker Kevin Stefanski. So Stefanski will remain the head coach, but if I were in management, I would take things off his plate because he's not on top of all of this, and I think it's too much for one person. And I would say we need to get more specialized, and we need to have a better vision of what we're doing offensively. If Stefanski has a problem with that, you let him go, of course. But so those two people right off the bat have to be replaced. The defensive ends coach, who was the one who was talking so much about Clowney, I have a feeling he's going to be let go just because he's the one who aired out the truth that Clowney
Scapegoat.
several weeks before refused to play, anything but third downs in the game against the Ravens. And I think that whenever you break the code of silence of Jimmy Haslam's organization, so Kiffin will be let go, and I bet you any amount of money he will be the first one let go, just because of Haslam and the Tennessee Mafia. That would be my guess. Now, there are other things who should be let go. I mean, obviously there are players who will be let go, and Kareem Hunt's gone. But as far as how do you get a bunch of motivated or unmotivated players to suddenly get motivated, I think you have a problem on your hands. I think culture has seeped in, losing culture has seeped in, and it's going to be a really long, hard process. And what I can tell you is Stefanski is not a guy who can gather the troops, assemble them, and lead them and push them to greater things. He's just a feckless man with a well-trimmed beard who just wants things done in a very precise way. And he is unemotional, uninspiring. And when you see these after-game victory speeches he gives, it's so forced because he just doesn't have that in him. And
he's like a total introvert. He's not even like an extrovert that you would want to coach a team. I mean, the big problem that I see that we've probably mentioned before with Stefanski is that he's busy calculating the plays and calling the plays and that. He doesn't actually react to what's happening on the field. If a real coach had been watching that play where Deshaun Watson nearly got his head taken off and they didn't call a penalty, every single other coach in the NFL seeing that would have charged out to the referees and yelled and complained. But not our coach. He either was too busy looking at his laminated plastic sheet or he was thinking about the next 3 plays he's going to call or whatever. And he's not looking at the fucking game like you and I are.
I think he's got too much on his plate. And I think that Cleveland's a hard place to come and do what you need to do. And it's hard to work for Jimmy Haslam. And let's be honest about this. And I want to say this to all the fans who fire this guy, fire that guy. I mean, to me, position coaches, you need, I think people like David Bell need to up their game because he's not able to get any separation. He's not able to run patterns that get him open. And we're just going to need help for Deshaun Watson. And we have to have somebody who understands there has to be a balance between feeding Nick Chubb, who ran for 6.4 yards per carry today, but didn't see the ball often enough. And there was nothing in the game plan that indicated that the Browns had any intention of running the ball whatsoever.
And it's only with Watson improvising that Chubb got thrown the ball. Those were designed plays to Chubb catching the ball. It was all Watson like being in the pocket for 5 minutes, finding Chubb to throw to, and making a play out of absolute dog shit nothing.
I would like is to have somebody look up from a statistical perspective the 2 touchdown drives for the Cleveland Browns. How much of the 74 yards or whatever Chubb ran for did he run for in those 2 drives?
Because it was a bit.
Yeah, what I notice is that with balance and him running the ball, the defense just can't just pin its ears back and just come, because if he gets through the first wave, you can get a big play from Nick Chubb. That's my feeling, is that they were misusing the best running back in the league and not feeding him often enough, not trying to tire the opposition down. But when they did use him, that was when we scored points, when we relied strictly on Deshaun Watson out of the shotgun to stand back there. He's going to end up staring into oblivion, because
the void, the black hole.
The receivers just are not getting open. And And believe me, he's looking, and you saw many occasions where he found people at the last moment, or he had to
Yep.
look 3-4 deep in order
Yep.
to find somebody. That's not good news. You need to have some people who are primary receivers who are getting open, and that becomes a huge problem. But firing people isn't the only answer to this equation. You can only fire so many people. The real question is, you want to fire Kevin Stefanski, who in the hell you're going to bring in? And don't give me the Sean McVay talk, and don't give me the Sean Payton talk, and don't give me all the things that are never going to fucking happen in a million years. Okay.
Hey, I got
Those
one that'll
people-
never happen. Eric Bieniemy.
Yeah, well, no, Sean McVay, and people will bring his name up, even though he's still under contract. But he's saying, maybe I want to work for the networks. He went from a Super Bowl to this terrible year that he's had this year. But what makes anybody think that he would say, I think I got life left in my coaching because I'm still a young man. I'm going to go to Cleveland. I mean, that's not.
No one thinks that.
That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Well, our long seasonal nightmare is over, though, so we can all embrace and have a virtual hug that this season's finally over. Yeah, because I think we all need a hug after this year. Jesus.
Well, I mean, here's the problem. Obtainable names you like. Brian Flores and Mike Zimmer would be good defensive coordinators. I don't want them as head coaches because they're abysmal failures. All right. And it's the same thing. Yeah. And I know that the Panthers finally won 10-7.
Woo!
Yeah, woo, against the Saints. But, that's what you're going to get from Steve Wilkes. He's a defensive coordinator, and you're going to score 14, 10, 14, 17 points a game. And that's not going to get it done. And that's what will happen with Mike Zimmer. And that's what will happen with Brian Flores as well. Don't need those people except as defensive coordinators, which we do need. I'm hoping that somebody like a Brian Flores, even though Jimmy Haslam obviously owned a company that was racially bigoted. And look, you're gonna say, oh, there's that liberal guy talking again. Just listen to the goddamn phone conversations of his employees, okay? Because you don't know what you're talking about. The bottom line is, racism ran rampant through Pilot J, and hiring Brian Flores might be a real reach for the Tennessee Mafia. Frank Reich, I think he's a groomer of young quarterbacks. We don't have a young quarterback. And Mike Zimmer really is a defensive coordinator. That's how he made his bones. And I would love to have a veteran defensive coordinator who knows how to communicate with people instead of this idiot that we have in there now. So, no coach of any caliber. I mean, stop and think about the people that we hired. I mean, the greatest story is the guy from Seattle and Green Bay, Mike Holmgren.
Oh God.
Holmgren made sure, I don't want to be the coach. I want to be the GM. Yeah.
That's still, in my mind, the worst hire the Browns have ever made.
I want to ride around in a golf cart and look important. And, and he convinced the Browns that his past would somehow rub off on the whole thing.
For millions and millions.
JJ3 says he'll get an MRI tomorrow on his shoulder, but he wanted to go back in the game. And Will's walking around the locker room with just a slight limp. These are notes from Browns reporters. Thank you, Double P. Keep coming with the information. Again, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Am I the only one that found the words groomer of young quarterbacks a bit disturbing?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's a little Jim Jordan-esque. I'm sorry there. But,
yeah, you don't want
talking about the people that might be gone. Special teams coach.
Oh God,
Prefer.
Prefer, yes,
Prefer.
Prefer
Yeah.
hot seat as well. I mean, Borges had a heck of a year, but Cade York currently, his field goal percentage was 75%, which is 36th in the NFL. There are only 32 teams. Come on.
That's
Yeah,
grim.
I just refuse to believe that guy's a waste. I think that
I think he's got the talent to do it. I think there's some coaching issues.
yeah, you just need again. I'm not going to use the groom word, but young players.
You need a kicker groomer.
Yeah, right.
Groomer of
A
young-
kicker
No.
fluffer. That's what you need.
Kicker fluffer. Oh,
Oh God.
I even broke out the jacket today. I was hoping for a little luck here, but
no, I think we tend to lose when you wear that.
we tend to lose.
Yeah,
when I
Jim
breathe.
Caldwell
We just
turned
tend
the
to
Lions
lose anyway.
around, all right, and would be a good head coach. I mean, again, do you really think Jim Caldwell would come to Cleveland and be able to do anything?
No.
Yeah, I don't either.
No.
As far as there was one play, I see things that I'm going like, huh? And the one play where Denzel Ward, before he came out of the game,
Yeah.
it was really weird. He was playing a zone defense and he looked to his right, or well, I take it back. It would have been to his left. Okay.
Yeah.
To the sideline.
Yeah,
And the
another one
receiver
you
just
mean.
moves right into an open space. Who turns their whole body around to look in a different direction? Who does that? That can't be any technique that's ever been taught in the NFL. I mean, I just look at this stuff and I go, no, you can't do that. And, as far as JJ's a waste of time, no time for that. And this also, the guys fought hard. Stefanski, it's just a broken record. That's all you're going to get from him. And part of the reason that there are so many antagonistic fans and people who are just upset about the whole thing is because of this. It's the same, we're going to have to look at the film and see what we did wrong. But it's obvious what you're doing wrong, and you have a lot to do with it, Mr. Stefanski. You're calling these plays, and you're the one setting the table for a game in which the quarterback is going to be subjected to a mammoth amount of pressure when when you're not using the best running back in the league. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's just dumb luck that Watson didn't get seriously injured today. It really is.
And Big
Dumb
Lurker
luck.
UK, yeah. That's the big blah. You can't be taking somebody seriously who is saying shit like that. Okay, Craig Jones, thank you, my friend. On the Njoku touchdown, Chubb, 19 yards on 3 carries. The Chubb TD, 2 carries for 26. So 45 yards of the 74 yards that he gained in the sum total of that game were on the 2 drives that they happened to score touchdowns on. And this is what my eyes were seeing. Yeah.
16 total runs by running backs, 16 carries. You're not going to win.
4 a quarter
like that. Yeah, 4 from Watson, but 16 carries from your running backs. And you were talking about this. You brought this up. I want to say like 5 or 6 weeks ago. Hunt is no longer running forward.
No,
he is making too many left-right cuts before he tries to slice through. He was at his most dangerous when he was making those slashing type cuts. And
when he was just lowering his head at full speed. Now he's just crumbling to the ground.
He's like he sees there's 2 guys there. He's trying to make both of them miss. It's like, maybe he is injured. I don't know. But
I don't know. Now, Alistair, the George Pickens thing, we passed up a lot of wide receivers. Okay. People who are helping other teams. George Pickens is a head case, and nobody says shit about remember Chase Claypool out of Notre Dame is like,
Yeah.
well, the Pittsburgh Steelers have done it again, and they picked themselves a really good wide receiver. And then he turned into Chase Claypool, the head case.
Yeah.
And Pickens is the kind of guy, if things are going good, things are going good. But if things are going bad, he will make them exponentially worse. I am not going to give this guy a free ride until I see him a couple years in the league and see how he develops. Do I think he has talent? Of course I do. Do I think that he has the mindset? No. I think that he is a loose cannon and will eventually prove to be a head case. That is what I believe, because that's his history at every level that he's played at.
I tell you, the Yinzers are set at tight end, though, especially depending on Freiermuth's injury. But between him and Hayward, they have two solid tight ends. I mean, they are well stocked there.
Now, Greg Joseph, double P, I thought I'd taken that name out of my mind forever. Why would you go and do that to me?
St. Joseph.
Well, you know, I think that we have so many issues, and it's such a disappointment because you go into the season saying, okay, we can right the 8-9 season from last year, and then we're worse this year. And the whole thing, you know, and it wouldn't have mattered. Baker Mayfield playing, we probably would have been worse. You know, Jacoby Brissett did limit errors, and Deshaun Watson threw 2 interceptions, and those 2 interceptions proved very important for the Steelers.
No.
It
is what it is. We need a sum up of the season, you know, like Peter Alice looking down from heaven.
You just saw the sum up of the season on the field. You know, you see the team get close enough to be within 6 points, and the defense just shrug its shoulders and let them run down the field and do whatever they want to do. Yeah, I mean, it's a microcosm of the whole season. That's it. I mean, you know, and
Myron Cope today too, actually.
Oh, you want to hear Myron?
My Myron Cope.
Myron Cope.
Wait. Okay, you have to use this. Okay.
Wait for it.
Oh my God. On the ground. Pickens is on the ground. I don't believe he came up with that ball. He came up with that ball. It's an immaculate reception, I swear to God. He can come in somebody. He doesn't need to come in somebody and they get pregnant. That's an incredible catch.
Myron coping my throat raw. I do this for you. I keep that's right. They battled today. No, they were baffled today.
Baffled today.
Yeah. And Stefanski is addled. And the whole thing is just ridiculous. All right, now we're putting bets on. Does Joe Woods get fired today or tomorrow? Well, tomorrow, I guess. Yeah, you know, they have to have the walkout interviews.
Yeah, it's like firing Monday tomorrow, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the walkout interviews, anyone getting the pink slip's going to get that pink slip. And that's that.
I actually haven't been blocked by Mary Kay Cabot yet. I'm surprised.
This was like a song, all right? The Little Pea Picker, Tennessee Ernie Ford. Here we go. You run 16 times, what do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt.
And then the other trailers for sale or rent.
No. Roger Miller, make that stop. All right. And I agree with what David's saying here. If you have a reputation of being a run-stopping team, instead of, I mean, the whole idea of being a rush-first team is that you have the confidence that you could overcome people in front of you, that you would be able to knock them on their ass and wear them down. Stefanski backs down. He lacks courage. And in a game that asks so much courage from players, if a coach doesn't have courage, then obviously he shouldn't be a coach. And but I see the same exact thing. And, you know, anybody who stacks the front line, who has a history of stopping the run, he just pees his pants, and you can't do that. You know, Okay, Wable wants to know the story about Bernie Kosar getting fired. There's a Tipico is the name of the gaming site, and Bernie Kosar, they ran an ad using Bernie's picture and a quote saying, "I bet $17,500, on Tipico," and it's the most ignorant thing I've ever seen in my life, because like Bernie wasn't aware of the fact that if you're employed by the team that you're not allowed to gamble, and that's why they fired him for
That's
a gambling thing. And he actually a tweet turned him in of an advertisement for Tipico. It's just the kind of thing that only happens in Cleveland. And Bernie's got problems. He's always had money problems, and to find out he's gambling makes it all the more painful to me. Tom Holly says, "I'm sick of this shit year after year." Well, join the crowd. That's why we're all gathered here today.
We're
Mitchell,
gathered here to talk about this thing supposedly called football.
If the game were closer, in the end, they'd have made 6 more calls for the Steelers. Yes, I got the same impression that they wanted the Steelers, if it was all possible. That was that goddamn lead official's last game of his career, and he was paying back debts. Believe me, there were some the face mask that they ignored was just so unbelievably, I didn't see anything. No.
The holding calls on Garrett frequently. They basically tackled him a couple of times.
Or the pass interference against Newsome, and that they called for some reason on Fields, who wasn't even in the play. I just don't understand.
There's a bit of inconsistency there, and not to mention that the color commentator, whatever idiot that was, who just could not get off. Well, the Steelers should have gotten that touchdown.
The whole thing was just set up for the Steelers, and it really is an annoying thing to have a guy like Adam Archuleta, talentless little dweeb that he is, to sit there and prattle on and on. And, and then when the face mask happens, well, I guess they missed that one, and moving right along. That could have broken the man's neck, but moving right along.
Oh, wow. Archuleta.
Double P. Curious about which announcer was worse calling our game. Greg Gumbel. Greg Gumbel is blind. There was the one play that
well, he's seriously old. He's like 80 years old with dyed black
76.
hair.
I looked it up. He's 76. And he shouldn't be looking down at the field trying to figure out spatial relationships, because he's blind. When Watson scrambled and they tiptoed down this. No, it was Amari Cooper when he caught the pass and he ran down the sideline, and he goes, and he's out of bounds at the
no, he isn't.
He couldn't even see the yard markers distinguishing the 10 from the 20. He's and then you can tell somebody in his headset said, 13, you asshole, 13. And he goes, around the 13, and then it was on the 14, and he's fucking blind, and you're gonna ask him, it's like, it was like, did you see Greg Gumbel saying, "Oh, how did they miss that face mask?" Jesus Christ, you can't recognize your own children, please. You're blind, please make it stop.
Great grandchildren.
Yeah, my God. It was $19,000, not $17,500. Same story, different number.
What's Bernie's daughter? She's still doing porn.
Oh God, I don't know about that. I didn't even know if that was true. That's horrible.
You'd think I'd run across her by now. Wait, what? Oh, sorry.
Joe Wood's exit interview. They should have the interview walking with him with a big file case toward his car.
Here's a box.
Not in a office. Just do it on the way to the car,
Yeah, we're headed back to the locker room, and there's a bus that's going to take you from the airport back to the facility, except for you, Joe.
Yeah, you know something, Double P. Yes, I promise you that if Joe Woods gets fired, I will have an auto-tune song for his farewell. I will, and
Yeah, we
remind
need a
me.
celebration. We need some sort of celebration if that
Yeah,
happens.
so remind me, Double P, that on tomorrow's program, if anything should happen, remind me. I'm more than happy to make a big. If you can't make a joke out of this whole thing, you just become embittered, and it's really kind of a shame because there are a couple of people who I've communicated with over the course of a couple of years on Twitter who have just taken such a hateful attitude toward Deshaun Watson. And it's like, why are you even watching the games? And the response I got is, I watch so I can see the team lose. And and it's like,
Oh,
boy, I mean,
there's
we do that
Schadenfreude. Then
anyway,
there's
but
some
that's
mental
not
illness.
why we watch. It just happens.
I just don't I don't understand. It's like but I unfollowed these people. They're a very unhappy group of people, and that's it. And I don't know, a bunch of fat old white people talking football. Well, I don't know what that makes you, James. I don't know what you're in your prime, insulting and stupid. So there is time for you to get smarter, but I don't know. I'm looking at the picture, the little thumbnail, and I don't know if you could call yourself, I don't know what you call yourself racially. I can't tell. Somewhat vague. You've got some kind of white in you, my man.
Well, we do fit that profile of
Just saying.
people.
Yeah. And something, I'm so proud of my fat that I would just be more than happy to dump my belly right in your girlfriend's face and let her search for my crotch.
You are what you are. I am. I am. Dear.
Yeah, there's one thing to being critical.
Last
of
time you
one
saw
team.
his mom, you told her to shave her back.
Okay. Now,
Yeah.
Scotty, how old are you? Scott. I'm going to call you Scott. I'm not going to call you Scotty. It's like say Scooter. Come on, dude. Scott. All right.
Chip.
I'm a little bit upset that we lost to the rookie quarterback who still hasn't really found his way. There were several plays in that game where he had like no clue where to throw the ball to.
Yeah, and if you look at his final statistics, I mean,
then he found some great plays where he did it. And on the end of the season, he's also, Scotty, my boy, he's upside down from touchdowns to interceptions.
I don't think 13 of 29 is the stuff of which you want to base your franchise around right now. Hey, he's getting a start, and you're not hearing me being critical of Kenny Pickett at all. No. And why would I be mad? It was a rebuilding year for the Steelers, and I don't know what you're building exactly, because as long as you have Mike Tomlin, you're just going to keep getting the same thing over and over again. As far as being mad, I think all Browns fans are frustrated about the fact that we thought the personnel that we were putting on the field were more developed and more professional than what the season has turned out to be. And I'm not mad about anything. And I think that's what separates me from 50% of the fan base. I don't walk out on my team. I don't turn my back on my team, but I express casually, honestly, openly some of the things that I feel are wrong with the organization. And, there's something wrong with the Pittsburgh organization, too, that they stayed with Roethlisberger for so long and ignored the backup quarterback position that they didn't have somebody to step in. And you're hoping that Pickett's the guy. And for you, I hope that he is the guy. But there isn't, it's not like we're watching Ben in his rookie year, or we're watching Tom Brady in his rookie year. It's not like we're watching Patrick Mahomes in his first full season. It's not like we're watching a player like that. He was sailing a lot of passes over the middle literally feet above the heads of his receivers. And when the rush did come up the middle, he got smothered. He panicked and didn't know where to go. If you get him out wide, he's a nice little rollout passer, and he likes to roll out to his right and throw the ball back toward the middle of the field. And he's much more accurate throwing to the sidelines than he is throwing to the middle of the field. And like a lot of young quarterbacks, the speed of the game is a pretty hard thing to overcome. So, I think that you have to wait on a young quarterback. My feeling is this: he ain't going to take the league by surprise next year. And if I'm a team, I'm going to make sure that I keep Pickett in the pocket. All right. So he'll be a Pickett pocket and hot pocket. And I think that if you keep him in the pocket and and he's not moving and has the option to use his legs, I don't think he's going to be that effective. But I think that's up for defensive coordinators to try to force him into a situation like that. So no, there's no anger on my part. There's just a real disillusionment about the Browns being so much less than they should have been this year.
I think we're all just glad the season's over, that we don't have to watch another game of this.
You can't, Scotty, you came in a little late, and I understand, there are some things that are more important than coming here. Believe me, I've been doing it for 19 years. This is what I do for fun, but I recognize that somebody told you to come here because I was saying things. And I get it. You're a Pittsburgh fan, and it was too bad that in the end you didn't get into the playoffs. Your team did what it had to do. Unfortunately, they waited until too long in the season to really get what
Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah, Trubisky really killed your hopes of making the playoffs.
Yeah, they made a hell of a good run at the end of the year. The Steelers definitely.
But you bet we're upset that our game plan is it's not at best questionable. It's downright awful. And the problem that we have is, and I've spoken about this so many times, the Pittsburgh Steelers know who they are. And they know, and if you go in and just going to throw against them, they're going to rip you to shreds. You got to have a balance.
8 sacks finally.
Yeah, that's right. And that's what they'll do. They'll feast on you.
TJ Watt, Cameron Hayward.
That our head coach
had 2 sacks, for God's sake.
That our head coach doesn't know that. It's infuriating to a lot of fans. And yes, we are all upset about that, but we can't change that. We talk about it week after week, but we can't change it. If I were a Pittsburgh Steeler fan right now, what I would do is I would say, I'd look at it and say, do I think that Pickett is the real deal? And I say he shows some nice signs of it, but when teams start realizing his tendencies, and I'm going to use Baker Mayfield as an example.
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield was so much more effective out of the pocket and rolling to either side. And when teams started running defensive schemes that forced him to stay in the pocket, he was short, got passes batted down. He was nervous because he wasn't really fast enough to run out of a crowded pocket. He wasn't nimble enough. And I see the same things with Pickett, is that in a straight line, he can get the job done, but he doesn't have the ability to pick his way through. Could you imagine if he was under the same pressure that Watson was under from the Steelers front line? And Watson actually escaped on numerous occasions. He wouldn't be able to escape at all. He doesn't have that kind of athleticism.
He was hurt. If we had Pickett as our quarterback, the Steelers would have ass raped him by the third quarter. Absolutely. Yeah. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Christopher, he's not going to respond.
Scott, Joe Woods is trending on Twitter right now, by the way.
Yeah. Scott, is not going to acknowledge the favoritism that his team gets. He's not going to do that.
Well,
I'm not going to. I can't blame that. I can just point out that it happens every time we play them. But the bottom line is that we didn't do anything to earn the win this game. Not strategically, not performance-wise. So, you can sit and cry.
I'm going to say goodbye, and I'll probably see you tomorrow. Do the Cavs play tonight?
Yes, they do. At
Yeah.
8:00, they're playing the Phoenix Suns, and
All right.
and Donovan Mitchell will be playing off of his rest day, and Garland is going to try to go with it. I don't know if they're outfitting him with a new hand,
Oh
like
God,
a little partial glove
bionic
because his
hand.
thumb. No, I mean they gave him something that was this horrible black looking thing that like a neoprene thing that
All
took
right.
all the feel out of his shot, and he was just throwing up bricks. I'm going to see if they could concoct something a little bit better for him, hopefully.
Well,
So-
I'll see you guys Monday.
All right,
Please.
Bronk, thanks.
Boo.
And I got to get out of here too, honestly, because it's after 5:00 and I got to feed the doggy, and Topaz is getting hungry. Here's oh, and thank you, Double P. Miles Garrett's quote: "I'm always ready to roll with the punches. No idea what the future will look like. Any staff changes, that's above my pay grade." And no, you're not the defensive player of the year. I just thought I would remind Miles of that. See, if they want my opinion on something, I'll certainly give it. Yeah, right. Ha ha ha. Y'all are so hateful on the announcers, yet you're empathetic with a guy you're paying $200 million guarantee. See, and that's what it comes down to, Scotty. You know, if you live in Pittsburgh, you cheer for Pittsburgh, and you are old enough to remember Cordell Stewart, you know what the city of Pittsburgh did to him. And it was because he was black. And you know what you're doing now. That's a dog whistle. And the bottom line is either you're too good for that or you're bad enough to be that way. And, we're hating on announcers who are not good at their job. All right. Announcers are supposed to, in a balanced way, call a game and not have a feeling of blatant favoritism, unless we're watching an NBA game, we're watching our home announcers, and then we expect to get that. But on a national telecast that people are paying so much money to watch, and we're supposed to get this neutral view, and instead we're having announcers saying, "What a gut punch for the poor Steelers. Yeah, they did everything they could to make it." It's like, no, they didn't. They didn't have a good enough record. When all was said and done, the Steelers didn't have a good enough record, and neither did the Browns, and neither did a bunch of other teams. And had they won a few more games, they'd have been in. It's just that simple. So, I'm empathetic toward people like you, Scotty, who just, you're a fan. And I know that you wanted your team to make the playoffs, and I'm sorry they didn't. You deserve to win today's game. I don't know what you want me to say. No, Jason, again, we're just fans. And I mean, I don't hate on people, life's too short. It's just, and Jason Kimball is saying, this is what we've been saying over and over, that the receivers can't get open. That's for sure.
It's going to be really interesting to see what happens this next year and what they do in personnel and what they try to do, and whether or not anyone will want to come to this clown show.
Yeah, and you know something, James? The Browns will continue to be the Browns. They kicked your ass in a playoff game. Which Browns are you talking about, James?
Last time they went there.
It seems to me Browns is Browns was a stupid thing that one of your former stupid players said before he got traded to a stupid team or left for a stupid team. There's a lot of receivers who walked out of Pittsburgh, James, and you might be the reason. You have terrible body odor. That might have something to do with it. And as far as Watson is concerned, they're going to try to develop some kind of offense for him, and I don't hold out a whole lot of hope in that regard. But I'm not judging Deshaun Watson until I see him play from start to finish of a season and see how he works with these guys in the offseason. We know that TPJ will be back. We know that Amari will be back. And from there, we don't know. And we'll see how he gets acclimated to a new cast of characters. And we'll see how it goes. But everybody, I appreciate the support on the channel. And I just thought it was unfortunate that Steeler fans walked out on their team after a win. They did everything. The players did everything that was asked of them. And the fact that Miami kicked a 50-yard field goal isn't the team's fault. And the fan base of Pittsburgh should be ashamed of themselves walking out of the stadium like they lost because they didn't make the playoffs. I thought that that was a very bad look. And as a fan, you know, that's just the way I feel.
Played a good game today. They brought the heat and took the Browns out of their game plan and put it on our weaker part of the team, which was trying to throw the ball. And
All right. So everybody, thanks a lot for tuning in. I'll be back again on Moohead Radio tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we'll be putting a final cover on this disappointing football season. We'll be talking the outcome of the Cavaliers game as well, and focusing more on the Cavaliers as we move forward, because they're at least winning for the most part. So everybody, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you tomorrow. Until then, hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.
Moo.